realized. Check one. Let's do it again, right, Felix? Welcome back to Ray's Podcast. This is your host, Ray Collazo, your virtual big brother. Thank you so much for joining us. Ray's Podcast informs, inspires, and entertains you so you can find wealth in your voice. Thank you so much for joining us. Ray's Podcast is part of the Latino Talk Network, which you can find at rayspodcast.com, as well as Ray's Podcast on iTunes. And we also have, don't forget, on the network, latinosportstalk.com, and our iTunes feed, as well as our whole podcast network at Latino Sports Talk. And you're going to be hearing previews all week of the Canelo Cotto fight. So for our sports fans out there, and hopefully we'll be able to do this on this medium in the coming days as well. Thank you so much for joining us. For those not familiar with Ray's Podcast, the purpose of it is truly to help people find wealth in their voice. There's so much, there's so much you have to provide to the world. You don't even realize it. And we really just want to provide you the tools, the inspiration, the mentorship here in an entertaining manner to let you know that you have so much more to give. And, that little nag that you have in the back of your head that says, why, there's something else I should be doing. There's so much more I have, but have fears, I have concerns. I don't feel I have the platform. We're here to assuage those fears, those concerns, and we do it with that Latino sabor. So thank you so much for joining us. And if there's a little pep in my voice, if you're listening to the podcast here, it's because this is a historic day. This episode of Ray's Podcast, which our virtual big brother Ray Collazo, which again you can get at rayspodcast.com, and Ray's Podcast on iTunes, is actually being broadcasted as a TV talk show on Blab. If you're not with Blab, get with it. Blab.im. It's the way to go, y'all. It is an incredible live streaming service I've been familiar with for, I don't know, 3 or 4 days. So thank you again for joining. And anyone that wants to join in on the stream and the conversation, feel free to. And on this episode of Ray's Podcast, again, you can check out all episodes. This is 190-something of Ray's Podcast. Check out our episodes. We've discussed these sort of issues around personal empowerment with incredible public figures, from Rene from Calle 13, which was acknowledged by the Nobel Peace Committee for his activism as a international celebrity and philanthropist and activist. And people from the community, from the barrio, that have wonderful things to say, and everything in between. Again, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you, Don Felix and Tony from San Diego, who have joined us on Blab. So hope to hear from them in this conversation. On this episode of Ray's Podcast, and again, depending on who comes in on the live stream, you can definitely add to the conversation. We may go in a few different directions here. But the first thing I wanted to discuss with everyone was what I learned on my birthday, specifically from Facebook. I turned 41 this week. And, leading up to my 41st birthday, not unlike a lot of us, we feel a little down. And it's not because life isn't good. Life is wonderful. Life's an incredible blessing. And I have so much to be thankful for. But it feels like kind of the marking period on a report card about what you've accomplished in life. And I'll be honest, I was feeling a little down. Not because I've been slacking, but I do have a nagging notion, nagging suspicion that in the back of my mind at this point, I would have served more people. I would have blown up. I would have been more publicly heralded. There would have been something that I feel I would have had there's something missing in what I feel I would have accomplished at this point. And a lot of us go through those emotions. And then what proceeded to happen was Facebook happened. Well, the first thing that happened is that my two little boys wrestled me off the bed to wake me up in the morning. And so that assuages all kinds of things. That puts life in perspective. But the second thing that happened, that was the most important thing that happened. The second thing that happened, which was very, very touching to me, was Facebook. And when I opened up Facebook that morning a few days ago, literally dozens and I think a few hundred friends and family and people that I've connected with over the years wish me happy birthday. And in particular, it was about a dozen really incredible notes. And I know many of you can relate to that moment when you're humbled by the things your friends and family say about you. And there are too many to get into right now. It was really quite touching. And so, but the bottom line was that it really struck a chord with me. It made me take a step back. First of all, in humility around, what people were saying about about me and about our relationship and how I'd impacted their life. But the other point of the other thing that hit me was it really forced me to check myself. How you doing, Cleb, DG, and Rebel Heart? Again, Don Felix and a few others on the line. This is Ray Collazo Ray's podcast. For those listening to the podcast, we're on Blab, so I'm live streaming. So again, anyone who wants to join in this conversation, feel free. I believe if you request, I can certainly allow you in. This is Ray's podcast. I'm a podcaster. Done about 200 episodes of this show. First one on the live stream, and talking about what I learned on my birthday today. And so, getting back to the birthday shout outs I got on Facebook and how it impacted me, it really made me take a step back about, well, I mean, if this is the kind of love I'm surrounded by and the kind of impact that we're having on each other, then why am I feeling down? And so it really, after some reflection, I came back to three things I wanted to share on this episode and with the people on, and we can certainly keep talking about it. And again, I encourage people to join in. I can certainly allow people to join in. But the first thing was, they really, these comments really got me back to my purpose. And I realized that I was probably doing pretty good as it related to what my purpose was, in terms of really wanting to, with this voice and my belief that we have just so much to share, all of us. We have these incredible, unique gifts to give them a little more something where they would feel that they had those gifts and they really understood it and would be able to take action on that. And ultimately, that's what I think I really learned the most from those comments was I got regrounded in my purpose. And so ultimately, it's not that I was off of my purpose. That's another emotion, and we can talk about that. When you feel like you don't know what your purpose is, and you don't know what your calling is, you don't know what job you should be doing, you don't know what you should be doing at all. And so, but I feel like I'm kind of in a decent place there. But what I feel like these comments taught me was that it wasn't the anxiety doesn't come from not knowing my purpose. The anxiety comes from not feeling I have a platform to express my purpose to more people in a larger way. And so hence I'm looking for every social media outlet I can find to express myself, right? But that's where I think the lesson came from that day and what my friends and family blessed me with. The other emotion, the other thought I had on it, again, I encourage people to join me in this conversation. I think Don Felix and a few other people have joined in, is that, we have this anxiety about not knowing the answer, right? That we somehow are rudderless and confused about what we should be doing and how we should live our lives and what kind of job we should have and what kind of, what should be our mission, our purpose, or vision, what have you. And the thing I got out of this moment with people giving me feedback on my birthday was that you don't have to know the answer, but you certainly can ask for the answer. And what my friends and family really taught me was that, they have a decent sense of it because we've been mutually supporting each other ever since I've known them. So I think that's something that we have to be cognizant of, and we really have to have the courage to ask. And that can go in a lot of ways. That could be a spiritual ask, that could be a peer ask, that could be a mentorship ask, that could be a family ask with your partner, what have you. But you don't have to know all the answers, but you have to have the courage to ask. And so who knows better about your gifts than the people closest to you? And then the third thing, which is a big credo of mine and a big theme of Ray's podcast and the Latino Talk movement, is that I really believe that at the heart of it, it's not that we don't know. It's not that we don't know, but oftentimes we don't have the courage to listen to our hearts and listen to the people that we ask. Because a lot of times it's kind of getting banged over our heads, right? I mean, My wife literally had to drag me on the dance floor for us to get to know each other. Even though it was probably quite obvious she wanted me to ask her to dance. And I think that it's that courage to listen is what oftentimes is preventing us to move forward in our journey. And, you know, to me, listening, part of the reason we may not listen is because listening takes a lot of responsibility, because then you are out of the mode of not knowing, because when you don't know, you just don't know, right? Helene Williams, how are you? And I believe Cleb DG and some other people have joined. This is Ray Collazo, podcaster, communicator, and we do personal development from a Latino perspective. There's your virtual big brother. And if you care to join in the conversation, feel free to jump in. We're talking about lessons learned from birthdays, from family, and how we support each other in this journey. So we're more than happy to have people join in. And I think this is working. No, it's open. So feel free for people to join in the conversation. But what I was saying is that, again, it's you have to, when you listen and your heart's open to really what your direction is, that takes responsibility, because then you have to now move forward and you have to do the work. You have to do things that are scary. You have to move forward with trust. You have to sort of jump out of the airplane with the parachute not landing until you get really close to the ground. So again, that was those were some of the lessons that I learned on my birthday. And again, I want to thank my incredible family and friends and associates around the country. And it was so gratifying because it came from every part of my life. You know, my immediate family, who have known me forever and who are particularly touching, and you know, the people that I've known throughout my life as kids, different phases of my academic career, my political career, my life. And it was really cool. So definitely would encourage anyone that's on the line to join in and talk about lessons either they learned on their birthday or life lessons that they wanted to share and chat about, and any reactions they have to what I talked about in terms of having a better understanding of not understanding my purpose, but understanding that the anxiety comes from wanting a bigger platform. And do we have that anxiety? How do we address that? The second thing is being comfortable not knowing the answer, just being comfortable asking, which is very important. And the third is the courage to listen. So definitely open to anyone that would love to jump in, or if you're not able or feel comfortable, definitely open to people, just chiming in on the chat. So any thoughts on my comments would be great. And again, anyone out there would care to chime in on the conversation. Again, this is Ray Collazo, your virtual big brother, and you're listening to Ray's podcast, Latino Talk That Will Change Your Life. We talk to inspirational rays of light that inform and entertain us so that we can find wealth in our voice. Thank you so much for joining us. And this is a historic day because this is the first day on Blab, which is a lot of fun. And if you're not familiar with Blab, definitely check out blab.im. This is like chat rooms on PDs. This is a lot of fun. You can have up to 4 people on the virtual screen and all kind of people chatting and getting ready to be on the virtual screen. This is an incredible medium, and I hope people are able to join us. If anyone on the screen here, any comments from either Felix or Planetary's on the line, so hopefully he can chime in. Chime in, brother. It'd be great to talk to you about this. You were a big part of my day that day, so I hope you're able to join us here on Ray's podcast. And again, if you're not familiar with Ray's podcast, check out rayspodcast.com, where we have over 200 episodes featuring our incredible rays of light, all kind of interesting conversations, informative, entertaining, cutting edge, much of which from an often unheard authentic Latino perspective. Again, if you're a sports fan, definitely check out Canelo Cotto, which we're talking about 24/7 at latinosportstalk.com. One of our podcasts, our Coast to Coast podcast with the Cuban Lion, Misa Leon, as well as Carlos Valentin, the boxing maniac. We had a professional boxing referee, Ricky Vera, on that episode. He's featured in the upcoming movie Creed, as well as a West Coast puro Mexicano boxing fanatic and someone that's in the boxing business, Jose Moreno. So, okay, so we have something. We have a comment from the audience here. Comment from my dear brother Planetary. For those that aren't on the stream here, I totally agree with listening to people you ask. I never understood why people ask for your advice. Then they totally ignore it. Yes, I remember when she drug you on that dance floor. Yes, it was at your wedding too, man. So you're right about that. Yeah, we have to listen. Well, because listening comes responsibility, brother. I think that's what it is. Because then when you're in that flaky space, it's almost like your crutch, right? Like, well, I don't know what to do, so I can just stay in this, in this space, right? So definitely want to help us get out of that space. Definitely want to get people's feedback again on and maybe a lesson you had on a holiday, birthday, or any other special event that was touching you, including what's happened in really throughout the world. I mean, Paris is getting the tragedy in Paris is getting the bulk of the attention. But oh man, I mean, throughout the Middle East and Africa, the Russian bombing of the plane, but Nigeria's had, I think Kenya had an attack as well. Several incidents have happened in the Middle East, Lebanon, I think Jordan as well, and a few other spots. It's just, we got to do better. We got to do better. Planetary chimes in on the chat line. I feel a lot of times people ask hoping that you say what they want to hear. And if you don't say what they have to hear, they just go to the next one. Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, like I said, I think it's about the courage to listen, because the answer you want to hear is probably not what you want to hear, right? But why don't you want to hear it would be the question. Why wouldn't you want to hear good advice, correct advice, proper guidance? Because it comes with a price. Your time, faith, changing course, making difficult decisions, sacrifice, changing your paradigm potentially. So again, the question is, at the end of this journey, do we want to have those regrets and that anxiety that you left something in the tank, or do we want to move forward together? And again, the real focus of Race Podcast ultimately is to help you find wealth in your voice. And it's the personal development stuff, no question. But we have people like in the coming weeks, like Felix Montelera, Arturo Nava, Audrey Bellis, one of the top social media innovators in LA, in the game, who I heard on the Hustle, what is it called? Hustle podcast. I think our homie Carlos Gil and Teo Roxon. We're also going to give you some practical tools. So whether it's to build your personal brand online, which is a particular passion of mine, social media marketing, personal finances, which our homie Felix is going to be helping us on, business tips, mentors like my brother. You want to get in the music industry or the hip hop game or something in the arts, he comes on and gives these kind of nuggets. Guy's been all over the world. I was trying to book him on a travel podcast, talk about his tour of Australia, because I don't have any exotic trips, quite that exotic, some fun stuff, but definitely. So yeah, so let's listen to each other. And again, it would be great if we could have anyone that's listening to chime in either with a question on the chat or join the conversation. There's 3 seats in this lounge here, and it would definitely be great if we could have anyone join us and shoot the breeze with us here on Blab. It was really exciting. And again, if you're not familiar with Race Podcast, check us out at racepodcast.com. And hold on for a second. Hold on. I'll edit this on the podcast, but I'm trying to get people. Hold on, Pierre. Hold on. Hold on for a second. Go to blab.im with your Twitter. Okay, yeah. So I have people. I'm so sorry. I have people texting me that are trying to get on the conversation, but they're not familiar with Blab. so we're trying to figure this out here. So it's pretty funny. But Felix, if you're there, man, it'd be great to get just a chat comment from you. You have so much to share, brother. Really appreciate you being on today. And again, really appreciate people being on this maiden voyage of Blab with me. This is a lot of fun. I am here. Can you join, Felix? Can you join on camera? That would be awesome, Felix. That would be freaking awesome, Felix. That would be really cool. Felix Montelera, definitely check out his podcast, which he could talk about in a second when he gets on here with us. And again, thanks for listening so much to Ray's podcast. Latino Talk that will change your life. You can subscribe. Be really helpful if you can give us a rank or review us on review Ray's podcast on iTunes, as well as Latino Sports Talk. We've got all kind of stuff there from the stinking Dallas Cowboys. They have a podcast on Latino Sports Talk. Unbelievable, as well as we talk about everything: NFL, baseball, boxing, MMA. Our homies, the MMA Maniac, Carlos Valentin, and Jenwin Gio Montes. I can't wait to hear about what they got about Rousey, if anyone wants to chat about that one. But she got the I know, Planetary. You're very sympathetic to her cause, Rousey, but hopefully we can get Felix on the line. But again, anyone else that's on Blab, who's joined us here? Addie. Addie is really cool. Addie, I know you. You're a big-time podcaster, Addie. Thank you so much for joining us. Jump on, Addie. This is my you're one of like the 15 people in the country that know how to podcast technically. I'm so jealous of you. Always sound really good. Addie, please jump on the virtual screen. This is the debut of my podcast on Blab. And I would love for fellow podcasters and people I admire in social media to join us. If you have a few minutes, and I'm talking about, I tried, girl. I'm a podcast nerd. I know what's happening. I follow people, Ray Ortega, and a lot of good people, our mutual friends online. But definitely, if you can, jump on, and we can. Okay, let's get Felix on the line here. Addie, join Felix and myself. This would be great. Don Felix, hermano.
Hey, how are you doing? Congratulations on your 41st birthday.
Great to hear you, brother. How are you?
I'm doing good. Doing good. How you been?
I'm doing fantastic, bro. It is so good to see you. And Felix Montelera, for people not familiar with you, especially that are hearing the podcast, introduce yourself and tell people about your wonderful podcast. And again, Addie, if you're available, please jump on. We'd love to get a Latina perspective on this conversation.
Well, my name is Felix Montelera, and I am a author, blogger, and podcaster. For 12 years, I did a radio show, and most of it was called Potencial Millonario. It's made in Spanish, and I try to teach personal finance to the Spanish speakers here in the United States. But because of the internet, I've been lucky enough to share that with about 110 countries. So it's been pretty good for me. I can't really complain about that.
I hear you, brother. And it's really cool when and for the podcast geeks out here listening to it, when you get your, I don't know which service you use, but I use Libsyn. But when you get your stats and you get a funky country you've never had a download from, and it's like, it just brings a smile to your face. So Mongolia, or one of these funky spots, and you just wonder, like, who's that person in Trinidad and Tobago who's downloading your podcast? You know what I mean? Like, are they you just can imagine, like, they're on a beach somewhere, having a good time listening to you. Don't Felix, let people know. You provide a lot of inspiration, but you have a particular expertise in personal finance. Tell people more about your podcast.
Well, my podcast is centered around my book, which is Potencial Millonario, and it is about personal finance, but mainly about what I call the millionaire mind, or la mentalidad millonaria. So a lot of us think that money is bad, money is evil, we can't have too much money because we're going to go to hell. I mean, all that's kind of stuff that we hear about money. And I'm here to tell you, I don't think so. Money is necessary, and we need to know how to treat it. And we got to treat it like a relationship. Like if you had a girlfriend or a boyfriend, and you just got to know that if you misuse it, it'll leave you.
That's right. So I want to get back to, and definitely want to reiterate the conversation. Felix, we're gonna set up a formal, I think next week or very soon, a formal appearance on the show to delve more into the personal finance element of your expertise and even more into your story. But I'd like to get your reflections on what I learned on my birthday. And again, repeating for Addie and other people that are just tuning in here on Blab, a few things. One is I really got sort of an understanding that I felt good about where I was with my purpose, but the issue, the anxiety comes from not feeling like I have the platform to express my purpose fully. So talk to me. Is that an emotion that you find common in Latino social content creators or the people that you interact with that are craving that platform to service more people in a higher plane or in another way?
Yeah, let me tell you something about that. The way I see it is, if you decide that you're going to be on any platform and you get to one person with your inspirational message and you can change that one person's life, you're accomplished. That's the way I see it. Of course, isn't it great to have 10,000 downloads a month or 100,000 or 1,000,000? Of course, sure, it'll work. But the bottom line is, our mission here is to help. And if we can help one person, I believe that you've accomplished something. You've left a legacy by helping that one person, changing that one person's life. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And it's something that really got crystallized for me getting involved in the podcast community online. And I forget what podcast I was listening to, but talking about numbers, right? And they said, oh, my podcast gets 100 people and I feel bad that I don't have that many people listening. And the person turned it around on the person that made the comment and said, if you were in an auditorium and there were 100 people sitting in that auditorium listening to you, how would that make you feel?
Excellent.
And that's how powerful. If it was 17 people, if it was 12 people, it was 7 people, it goes back to what you just said. That was so powerful, Felix, because just touching one person is, incredibly powerful.
Correct. That is correct. So
yeah, it's trying to get Addie and other people on here to.
Yeah, if somebody wants a seat, I can get out. I just want to congratulate you.
No. It's up to 4. It's up to 4. So you're fine. You're totally fine. So
I want to congratulate you for doing your first Blab. I haven't done an official Blab. I've been a lot on them, but never hosted my own. So I'm looking forward to probably next week be on yours as a guest. So we can
absolutely,
talk about stuff.
We promote it and really get into the finance piece. How about Felix? The other part of my thoughts about it's okay not to know the answer, but you have to ask, and you need to ask. What are your thoughts on that perspective?
Well, the issue with asking is that a lot of the times we don't know what we can accomplish unless we ask, and sometimes we think people are too busy or they're too important for us to bother them. And we don't ask the question. We don't ask for the favor. We don't ask for the opportunity. And when we do that we don't ask, we will definitely miss out on opportunities. There has been a bunch of people, influencers in the Hispanic communities that I've reached out to that sometimes I don't hear back from them. Not one word. So I don't take that as something that, hey, they didn't reply, they're not interested. I'm thinking, they maybe didn't get that message. I'll send them another one in the near future, right?
Yeah, no, it's my brother Planetary chimes in. As a child, I remember the teachers being annoyed by questions. So sometimes you ask too much. I know my 6-year-old asks a lot of questions, some of which he's not quite ready for, I think, or maybe he is. Who knows? But no, that makes a lot of sense, and I think definitely we something that my brother mentioned earlier in the chat was that we may be asking and then we don't like the answer, so we move on to somebody else.
That's right.
I think it's about having the courage to listen as much as asking. So, right. Felix, any thoughts on that part of it?
Yeah, I've worked for government agencies most of my life. I'm a civil servant. And a lot of managers will ask you, can you be honest with me and tell me, what's your true opinion about this? And then sometimes you give them your thoughts and they get upset. They don't want to accept it. So sometimes asking can give you the answers that you are difficult for you to either understand or comprehend. So we have to be ready when we ask to receive.
That's right. And, it's, well, there's a couple things there. On the HR side of that, Felix, as you know, it's the responsibility of a manager to make sure they give people feedback, like not at the end of the road, right? So that's part of it, right? So as the provider of the information, there is some responsibility there. But in general, you're absolutely right, because, the obviously people can judge your intent, but at the end of the day, your true friends and the people that really care about you want to see you succeed, want you to grow, and you're not going to grow without a little pain and a little uncomfort, for sure. And that's been something that has been a big part of this journey, and quite honestly ongoing, because Felix and we met each other at Miami at the Hispanicized conference.
That was
great. My energy around doing this. I'm sorry?
I said that was great. That the Hispanicized in Miami.
Oh,
that's an awesome event.
I was only there. You were there more of the conference. I was only there like 2 days, but it seems like that was a very intense couple of days, because I'll share with you, it not only was the first time I was around any Latino podcasters, it was the first time I was around any podcasters.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it was just like really trippy. And Addie's asking about my birthday. Yeah, my birthday was the 10th, so whatever that was, 8 or 9 days ago. And Addie, the basis of my opening remarks was related to the anxiety of, you're getting a birthday and you feel like it's a report card about your career stuff, and you feel like you've kind of fallen a little short, and then you turn on Facebook and you realize, wow, there's a lot of wonderful people that care about you, and that's more important than anything. And some of them actually think you've been helpful. So that's kind of the inspiration for my opening remarks and part of this conversation. But the listening part, Felix, is also very interesting. You not only being defensive about it, but opening your heart to the message, which I think is a big part of it, because I really believe in our hearts, we already know the answer. I really believe that, and I'll share with you that I work in the nonprofit space and the national nonprofit space, and some people that may see this know me and know where I work for, and we're both very lucky, that to have this. Oh, thank you so much, Addie. No, we need to connect. We need to have you on here, Addie. Definitely, you're a big part of the movement, and I'm so glad that we need Addie. But we need Addie to help us to get more women, and especially more Latinas podcasting. It's a big. I mean, we have a few, but it is a big gap for sure. So, Addie, I'll connect you on social media if you're stepping away. I mean, feel free to hang as long as you can. But I want you on the show very soon. But what I wanted to discuss was that, so there was about 2 years where I was in a very tough space as it related to feeling like you would hit that proverbial glass ceiling, or that corporate wall or job wall, career wall, whatever, and feeling really down about it. And again, it at the end of the day it took me 2 years to realize it wasn't that I didn't know, because you get into this thing and it's very frustrating for the people around you. It's a very frustrating emotion. It feels very weak. It feels very indecisive. It's just not a good place. And then you realize it's not that you don't know, it's that you're not listening. And you're not listening to people around you, you're not listening to yourself, you're not listening to, in my case, my spiritual relationship, you're not listening. And so, I had actually started podcasting in 2007, Felix.
2007. Wow.
Yes, I did. Yeah. I had a podcast called The Brown Planet, which was somewhat similar to this, but a little more, I guess, politically oriented and news topical stuff. I'm not a techie guy, bro, and it was harder then. And, I was really busy with my career stuff at that point, and having a baby, and my wife having a baby and stuff. So it was just a hard time to continue with it. And then I started again in 13. But when I just got over myself and started listening to my heart, and I started doing this. So it's been an incredible journey. Felix, for those out there who are having that anxiety and feel like they're rudderless, feel like they don't know, give them some wisdom about how they can get centered and how they can find out what's probably there somewhere.
Well,
What I know is
sure. I always give the analogy of a GPS, right? And especially with the finances and all that stuff, I always say you gotta know where you are. That way you can get to where you want to go. If you have a GPS and the GPS can't find your location, you're not going anywhere. I mean, you can go in circles and you can go up and down, sideways, but you're not going to get to that goal that you really desire. So you have to put it in your mind, this is where I'm at, okay? I'm 41 years old. I've got a platform. I'm moving forward, and this is where I want to go, okay? And with that said, once you decide which is your goal, you put a time on it, it stops being a dream, okay? It really stops being a dream, and then you can accomplish things. So I tell everybody that I talk to, we got to know where we're at, where we want to go, and what vehicle we're going to use to get there. A lot of us have platforms like the podcasting, blogging, books, internet TV, YouTube, and that can propel you to help someone else. And that's what I'm trying to say. When it comes to us, we have to create a Latino blogger, podcaster community where we belong. That's very important, and especially if you're starting off and you don't know much, you have to lean towards guys like Ray that have done it for a while, that can actually teach you, mentor you, and go through this stuff. I've seen a lot of Latinos lately paying thousands of dollars to learn how to podcast, okay? And it's okay to spend this money. If you have, especially, it's fine. But a lot of our folks do not have that type of money. So if we can create a community where we can come together, teach each other, forward our stuff, this will be a great forum for us.
Well, hopefully this is part of that forum. I think that I'm going to be definitely investing quite a bit of time in this, in this particular platform, and it's also repackageable, right? Because you can put it on YouTube, you can use the audio for the podcast, and you have this kind of interaction, and even just what a blessing to connect with Addie. It's one of the people in the game that's definitely unappreciated, and of course Felix. We hadn't had a chance to see each other since Miami, so right. What a blessing to be able to see you. And again, we'll schedule time soon to really delve into your message and your man. I remember when I was going through some things. I wasn't able to podcast much when the Aaron Hernandez nonsense was going down, and you had reached out to say we need to school people about this is the absolute extreme terrible example of the ghetto mentality, however you phrased it, but it was raw, So, why would a guy with everything going for himself blow his life over nonsense, Mm-hmm. So he obviously didn't believe in himself on some level. And, it was what a tragic story that is for, the victims, because there's a good chance he knocked out those other two young boys in South Boston before Mr. Odin, so Mr. Lloyd. So sad stuff there. But Felix, I'm not going to take up too much of your time. I know you probably got to go to your stuff tomorrow, but let people know again where they can find your social media, and shout out again. Give people all the information about your podcast.
Well, my podcast is called Potencial Millonario. I have a blog, and you can find me under thepotentialmillionaire.com or potencialmillonario.com. So I try to keep it bilingual, but I don't mix it up. So I don't do the Spanglish thing. It's either all English or all Spanish, because I get people telling me, oh, I need that in English or I need that in Spanish. It's there. Just got to look for it, because I'm still trying to work out the blog thing when it comes to dividing that up. But potencialmillonario.com or thepotentialmillionaire.com. And my book by the same name has been out since 2009. It sells really well. It brings in some royalty, so makes me happy. So I can't complain. I actually went to the podcast Paradise cruise. I was one of the participants. Yeah, I was one of the 50 participants. Yeah, it was pretty cool.
What was that with? Is that John Lee Dumas?
John Lee Dumas, Jared Easley from Podcast Movement. Sure. And I mean, it was a very awesome event. I learned a lot. And the other thing is, I think most of the people that were there were actually self-made, if I'm not mistaken. I would like to say that all 50 of the participants and the crew teaching, these are like the masters when it comes to podcasting. So there was a lot of good interaction.
Throw out a few other names. Who else was there?
Let me look it up. Wait up. I'll give me a second.
Okay. The podcast cruise. Unbelievable. And again, you're listening to Ray's podcast, Latino Talk That Will Change Your Life, talking to a great friend and a mentor of mine, a man I really admire, Felix Montelada. And who else was there? I know a lot of the podcast geeks are curious. Chase Reeves, sure. Chris Ducker, yeah, that guy. Man, what a life that guy's living. He's big on Chris Brogan. Okay, yeah. Absolutely, yeah. Well, we need you on that poster next year, brother. No question.
Yeah, that's something that I really, that's one of those things where you say, well, do I have the right platform? Because since I speak in Spanish most of the time, so people sometimes I really believe that I'm not going to be considered because they just don't know what I can offer, right? So, but I feel good about it because my platform is stable and I do get a lot of downloads a month. So the only thing I'm looking forward now is trying to monetize it. And the reason being is when I first started, I did not have any intent of monetizing. I just wanted to give back. Yeah. And I see there's a lot of value there. And I've noticed that people appreciate it more when they pay. And why is that? I don't get it.
Human nature.
Right? I mean, if you get it for free, they kind of dismiss it. They'll follow you. I've got it's about 250,000 views on Google Plus and another 150 downloads, 150,000 downloads on the podcast. So it's going really good. 110 countries. I really can't complain. It's really, really good for me. It's a really good platform and it's growing. You can see the growth every week. You see new people coming up. So I do get some interaction. So it's really good. But the way I see it, this is one of those things where folks go, well, would he be a good fit? Because they don't really know exactly what I do. So,
well, that Felix, that means we'll just do our own cruise. The Latin podcast cruise will be more fun anyway.
Let me tell you,
the Caribbean better than us.
What's his name? Chase was saying that
I like Chase. Chase is one of the whitest people in the world. Yeah. There's no question about it. He knows it.
He was saying that.
But
he was looking around and he was watching people dance at different places, and they did karaoke. But he said. I so happened to enter the Spanish club, and those folks were like enjoying themselves, like I've never seen a culture enjoying themselves, So he's like, I've just been going to the wrong club.
Well, there's Latinos in Portland. He has no excuse. Portland's a hip town. My brother, who's on, is he knows about Oregon, and the Northwest. They get down out there, so a lot of fun. But Felix, I would be remiss. Two things before I let you go. First is I was in Puerto Rico 2 weeks ago at a conference, and a lot of it was centered around the Puerto Rican economic crisis. So, it's something that we don't have time to get into here fully, but needless to say, It's a terrible situation. We can debate endlessly how we got here, but at the end of the day, the rainbow coming out of the clouds is that our communities, I think, at least on a political level, I think it's coming together in a way that, you know, it's been a unifying force. So you have Nuyorican island leadership working together, and if you have any interest in getting a little more briefing, I can get you some information offline rather. But you know, so I just wanted to share with you that you know, I'm engaged in that effort, and Felix is. What part of the island are you from, Felix?
Well, I'm from Santurce, Barrio Obrero. So I'm from a barrio. I am from a barrio.
Yeah. Moving on up, ho.
Yeah. So I say.
Well, you know, Santurce is where to hang out now. You know, the placita is like the hip spot.
La Parada 19? Yes.
Sí.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I always say, you know, I was born in Jersey, but I was raised in Puerto Rico. So for people who listen to my podcast, I always say, como dicen en mi barrio, and I'll say the word in English because I'm from Jersey.
Where were you born? Where in Jersey were you from?
Jersey City. Yeah.
Okay, JC. Okay. Yeah. Sure, it's a big community. Yeah. Oh, that's cool. Yeah. No.
But yeah, if you can send me some information on that, I'm always interested. I
part of that, you know. Yeah, you should be a part of that, and you know, if not me, or probably someone in the network that should be on your show to discuss that. You know, that's engaged. So there's going to be a big rally December 2nd before this session of Congress ends. That all kind of people are involved in. So I'll send you that information, and obviously we care about our beloved island, and we're doing whatever we can. The last thing, Felix, is Canelo Cotto, Papa. Talk to me. Canelo Cotto, you a boxing guy? You going to see this fight?
Let me tell you this. I think Cotto will take him, but I was watching the Rousey-Rouse fight, and I was surprised about that. So, you know, you never know when it comes to these sports.
Well, you know, it was funny because we'll talk about Rousey in a second, but well, there's a couple things. One is that when I had Renee from Calle 13 on about a year ago, we talked about his career in politics for about 10 minutes and Miguel Cotto in boxing for 15 because he's so passionate. I threw it out there. I said, que el próximo camino para Miguel, and tú crees que puede pelear contra Canelo o lo que sea. He went off. He said, no, okay, you know. I mean, he just went off. He would be Mayweather. I mean, he was just a blind fan. It was unbelievable. So he's so passionate, and I'm sure he'll be at the fight Saturday. And it's just going to be a great fight. And
sometimes that brings some problems, but the truth is, he's talking about major events that need to be brought out.
Absolutely. No, he's a special guy, and Renee would love to have him back on here. But it's going to be a great fight, and just so you know, I'll make sure you have the link. Earlier this evening, we were trying to get it on Blab, but not everyone was up on the tech part. We may do a Blab on it. We may do a Blab on it. Somebody, another special guest, Felix, is coming in. You, hello, what are we repping Saturday?
Gotta go for Cotto, baby. We going for Cotto.
This is my brother and very well recognized, well respected international hip hop artist Felix. He goes by Planetary with his hip hop stuff. He's been all over the world, brother. Europa, Australia. He's got a big following in Southern California with the Mexicano community. So he's big time. Before he goes to bed tonight, he's chiming in. What's up, brother?
What's going on? How you
doing? I met Felix in Miami last spring, so he knows that the Collasos are animals on the social tip, you know.
Oh yeah, Miami, huh? I miss Miami.
Yeah, Miami's nice, man. So what's going on, Mario? You got a lot going on with yourself, and what's on your mind tonight?
Oh man, I gotta go to work in like 4 hours.
You're a hardworking guy, bro.
But
you're a hardworking guy. So I'm trying to get you on with all this real talk, and you jump on. We start talking about boxing. So what you think? I mean, it's going to be a good fight. What do you think about? What's your analysis of this fight? I know you're hardcore. You pay attention to this stuff, vicious. And Felix, he loves to point out he's not a homer, so he likes to be relatively objective in his analysis.
Well, like I said, what it is that it's not going to be easy for either one of them. I just think the younger Canelo, he's a little stronger. I think he'll end up beating him. But I'm going for Cotto. You never know. Cotto looks sharp these days, man. So anything can happen.
Absolutely. But give people a quick well, your thoughts on this conversation. You were one of the inspirations for this conversation, Mario, with your, I mean, you know, I don't want to get emotional about it, but just real touching stuff you wrote about me on Facebook. But what's your thoughts about this conversation? You were sharing a lot on the chat.
Oh, what part of it? When about?
Well, I know. Well, the beginning about, you know, I guess the main thing is about how people are stressing about not knowing their purpose, but they know it, but they just don't feel like they have the avenue to express it, basically.
I think people are just scared, man. A lot of people are scared of everything. They're scared of facing people, facing strangers, asking strangers, new opportunity. People are just scared to do everything because people are scared to fail. People are scared to do something wrong. People are scared to, I don't know, just not be accepted. People are just scared. It's not cool, you know. Like you gotta just go for what you know and try to. You know, you got to roll with the punches. Sometimes you don't want to get hit, but you're going to get hit. Sometimes you're going to fall. Sometimes you're going to hit back. Sometimes people just got to stop being so scared to take chances. I think that's a lot of the problem.
Felix, how do you advise people about that piece around, you know, not being scared to fail or go through their ups and downs?
So happy that my latest episode 106 is about el miedo. It's actually, that's what I talked about, is being scared about things. And I really believe that a lot of us are really scared of succeeding because we sabotage ourselves when we're doing well. You know, we're getting momentum, and next thing you know, we stop and we go, whoa, you know, what is this? This is uncomfortable. This is not something I was expecting maybe this fast, this soon, or yet. And then they just stop and they go, well, I don't know what's going on. So I talked about exactly that because we need to learn not to have fear in our lives. I was just telling you, I got on that podcast cruise. It was my first time on a ship. So I was scared. I was like, what's going on? Am I going to get sick in there? I'm going to throw up. I'm going to act like a fool. You know. So I was freaking out before, even to the point where I told my wife, I don't know if I should go. After I paid, I was like, I'm just going to stop. I'm not going. You know, and she's like, no, take your butt out there, enjoy it, have fun, and learn something. So, but fear is one of those things that you have to confront. And it's like anything else. You have to say, you have to identify the same thing with the GPS. You have to identify what are your fears. And then you have to confront those as you go. And a lot of people don't want to confront their fear. It's like being on Blab. You know, we have people that, okay, they've never tried it. I'll give you that. That's fine. But they're in fear that if they try to get on and they may not work for them, there might not work. Even little things like that will stop you from getting exposure, from having your platform grow, and from moving forward.
Well, it's funny because Mario Felix kept avoiding getting on Blab for the last few days. He was like,
there you go.
Well, you know, the first people to get on these kind of things are going to be a little different, but you know, it's cool.
It is.
But yeah, I think it was like Thursday or Friday. I found out about it. I think I've known about it a week, honestly, because I don't know. Do you know this guy Felix Carlos Gil? He's a social media marketing guy in the Bay Area. He's a Miami Cuban American guy, young guy. He's probably around Mario's age, I think. He's got a few podcasts, I think, but the one I picked up on was one he does called Hustle Podcast or Hustle Culture Podcast, I think it is. He does it with a guy Teo Roxon. And so I was checking out his podcast, and he had mentioned they do it like this. They do it on Blab. And so then I was like, what's Blab? And then I got it. I started checking it out. And then I jumped on like a test. Like I wasn't even expecting to talk to anybody. And it was a Latino guy from East LA, Joel on Blab or something. I'm surprised he's not on here. He's probably blabbing on his own. He's a blabaholic. But he was really cool. We were chatting. And then Saturday I jumped on, and do you know this guy Andrew Zarian, Felix?
No.
He's like in our space. He's like he actually has like a podcast network. Like he does 3 or 4 types of shows, and he built like a studio in his crib in Queens. So he calls it like the guys from Queens Network or something like that. And then he's got like another 10 or 15 people that do different kind of shows. So he's kind of like it's kind of like what I want to be when I grow up kind of thing, right? So I've been watching his career. He's a good guy, cool guy. And then he's got a wrestling show, Mario, that's really good. And he was doing this. He was like testing it. So I just jumped on. And he was like, it was really cool because I had wanted to reach out to him. I'd actually have tried to reach out to him and, tweeted him and here and there. And you know how it is. It's hard to get in touch with certain people if you don't know them.
Right.
And then, but he was really cool. And he was telling me his wife's Puerto Rican, which I had no idea. I just knew she was a brunette from Queens. And so, he was really interested in the whole Latino thing. And we were talking about different stuff. And his wife's Maracaibo. And so anyway, in 2 days, I was hooked. I was like, I'm connected with people I've been trying to connect with for years. And, we're early adopters. So this is only going to get bigger. So I'm going to, and then it's like 3 things in one. You get the live, you get the YouTube video, you get the audio. So it's like, why not, right? So anyway, I like the interaction.
The information, the content that you have.
Exactly. And it gives a different element. Even if you're having a co-host, it gives when you see them, it's a different vibe. Mario, what do you think about Blab so far? Interesting, right?
Yeah, it's interesting. I like it, though. I think it's got tons of potential. Just got to keep hacking at it.
Yeah, absolutely. But I'm going to start wrapping this up. I've kept you guys a long time, and anyone else that's on, feel free to jump on. Or I'm definitely down with staying on, even if I've turned off the recording. But I want to wrap up the actual Edition Race podcast. Again, you can listen to Race podcast with your virtual big brother, Ray Collazo, to help you find wealth in your voice by subscribing to Race Podcast on iTunes. Check out our website, racepodcast.com. And again, for our sports fans, Boricua, Mexicano. I know the barbershops, East Coast, West Coast. All we're talking about is this fight Saturday. We're talking about Rousey, too, getting her butt whipped. We don't have time to get into that. But all I got to say on that is our homie, Planetary Coyote in Chicago, Vinny's homie. Oh, nice. Felix, Mario's wife just walked in with pasteles. Okay?
Oh, that is so awesome.
To get you jealous.
That is so awesome.
But hello, Melissa. I'll see you soon.
That's a midnight snack.
No shit. You're right about that. But definitely subscribe to Race Podcast. And again, we're going to be on Blab on a regular. And again, LatinoSportsTalk.com. That's what I was talking about. If you want to hear our Canelo Cotto preview, it'll be up. See you later, brother. It'll be up tonight. So definitely check it out. We've got East Coast, West Coast, Latino sports fans getting ready for the big fight. So I'm excited about it. Any final words, Felix? And again, thank you so much, Felix Montelada, for joining us and from Potencial Millonario, and let people know again where they can catch you in social media and your podcast.
Well, thepotentialmillionaire.com is the blog. I do have some YouTube videos in English of interviews that I did in Podcast Movement. One was Arturo Nava. The other one was Jose Figueroa from Figueroa Front 9 Show. The other one was Jared Easley, because he was the host of the Podcast Movement. So yeah, sure. I got a few videos out there, and you're more than welcome to check them out and tell me what you think about them. I am a little bit slow when I speak, so it's just me. It's not the audio or anything like that. But I've been told, people say, you sound like a robot. But bottom line is, I'm learning when it comes to that medium, the TV, the video. So the audio, I think I can do a little bit better, especially when it's edited. We do heavy editing in Potencial Millonario. So we take all the outs and all the so's and all those words like that. We just eliminate them as we talk, right? But Potencial Millonario, it's called Potencial Millonario, the podcast. And you can find it on Stitchers. It's on iTunes, of course, Stitchers, and Podbean. I put it through Podbean. But Stitcher, you'll find it there. I get about 10,000 downloads a month, so it's not huge, but it is growing. Because I remember the days when there were 2 or 3 people, and I wondered, is somebody listening here? The book is called by the same name, Potencial Millonario. It's Spanish edition. I've been working on an English edition for like 5 years, but I haven't moved on that, but I'm actually working on the audio of the Potencial Millonario in Spanish, and that's what I'm doing. I'm got one more project going on, and I talk about it. While I was at the cruise, I used makeup for the entire week, and the project is I'm creating a makeup line for men. Yes, because right now, if you see us, you see a little bit of shine and all that in the face. Well, with all this stuff that we're doing with video and photo ops, it's better if you have makeup on. We spend a lot of money on our shoes, on our suits, just to look good, and they take pictures of what? Our faces, right? So that's my new project. Hopefully by January or February, I'll launch my makeup line, and I want to hopefully I can create a community around men who use makeup, and I've done a lot of research on it, and there's a lot more men that we think that actually use makeup already. So
unbelievable. I tell you, Felix, you're a visionary, brother. There's no question about it. And I remember you telling me about a pillow you had, a ninja pillow or something.
A ninja pillow. It was a Kickstarter campaign as an experiment. I had never done anything. I learned. I got on Facebook on 12,011 because my sister insisted. She's like, La Familia Entera is on Facebook. You're not. You're the only one no Facebook. And after that, I've been learning. So I did a Kickstarter campaign with ninjapillow.com. And we still sell ninja pillows. They're a 5-foot body pillow. They are scary. They're kind of ugly, and they sell.
It's amazing. Little ugly things are considered.
This one's big and ugly.
Disgusting. Unfortunately, I realized as an awkward teenager in the hood, but it's one of those things. But let's give a shout out since Addie's been on, and I feel bad. I've been bugging her by joining, and she's
not ready. She's not ready.
I need to leave this woman alone.
I would love to meet her.
I'm bugging her.
Said so much about her. I really want to meet her. I've already friended her. So.
Yeah, no, Addie's cool. Like I said, I've seen and heard her on the Podcasters Roundtable and a few other of the podcasts that really profile podcasters. You know what I mean? There's actors, then there's Benicio del Toro. You know what I'm saying? Like people that know the art. And I'm certainly not. I certainly could learn a lot from you guys on the tech stuff. But let me make sure, and Addie, feel free to correct me. I want to make sure we get it right on the podcast that Addie Saucedo's podcast or the Do It podcast. And it's not clear to be honest, but I know that you have Just Be 100%. Is that your podcast? I try, girl. I try. Got her last name right. Gracias a Dios. Is Just Be 100% Addie your podcast or your book or both? Because it's audiobooks. Yes. Audiobooks podcast. Okay, wonderful.
Very cool.
So she's got a few projects going on. Definitely just check out Addie online, and she's very involved in social media. And again, a podcaster's podcaster, no doubt. And Addie, I want to definitely get you on here soon. And Richard Rakusit, I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name, feel free to jump on. We're Team Doral, South Florida guy, Richard Doral. or a horse. Isn't that a golf course?
A bank. It could be a bank.
Right. Well, you're always the financial bro. Siempre. You always got money on your mind. But Richard, this is a recording of a podcast, and I'm gonna finish up the recording. But I'll stay on as long as anyone wants to be on. So, Richard, if you want to chat, that's fine. But I'm gonna wrap up the recording of the podcast. Again, you've been listening to great friends like Adi Saucedo and Felix Montalada, my dear brother, my youngest brother, Mario Collazo, a.k.a. Planetary from the Army of the Pharaohs hip-hop troupe, still one of the top independent hip-hop groups in the game. In Cruz, traveled all over the world, and very proud of that young man for not only being a very underrated and very extremely solid hip-hop artist, but a hell of a family man and a mentor for a lot of us. And for a little brother, he teaches me a lot, no question. So you don't have to leave the route, brother. I'm just wrapping up this part of the show. And again, if you like what you heard, again, from your virtual big brother, Ray Collazo, Ray's podcast, which informs, inspires, and entertains you to find wealth in your voice. Subscribe to us, give us a rank and review us. And I know Felix has been nice enough to do that. Ray's podcast, also anywhere you get your podcast, really, Stitcher, Audio Boom, and everywhere else. And you can also check us out at rayspodcast.com. And again, for our fight fans and our sports fans, Latino Sports Talk is also part of the Race Podcast, Latino Talk Network. Check out Latino Sports Talk. Subscribe to us and check out our website for coverage and podcasts and conversations around the big Canelo Cotto fight coming up in Las Vegas on Saturday. We can chat about that if the guys who are going to stay on after the recording want to chat about that and anything else on their minds. And check out our podcast on there and our continuous coverage. And we talk about all sports, not just the quote-unquote Latino sports, NFL, really everything. NFL, NBA, baseball. Me and my other brother, Michael Felix, do the baseball podcast. It's a lot of fun. And a lot of Carlos Correa talk, needless to say. And a lot of good baseball sabor conversation. And my brother Mike is a real baseball guru. Again, check out Ray's podcast. If you have any questions for your virtual big brother, Ray Collazo, you can always email me at podcastrays@gmail.com. That's podcastrays@gmail.com. And again, listen to your heart. Open your heart to the message. You know what to do. And we're here to just inspire you and provide you a little bit of a kick in the pants, a little inspiration, a little mentorship, and have a wonderful day.